back, dear friends. We have not been seeing each other for a while, and I'm so happy to welcome back you again to our Herocast, the podcast devoted to the ordinary heroes who find extraordinary strategies to fight against violence, abuse, and injustice. And we are addressing now in this phase, as you know, the challenges of talking about safeguarding at intercultural level. We have been to Egypt, we have been to Africa, and today we are flying to India. So we are with our sister Tresa. I'm so happy to have you here today with us, Sister Tresa. Sister Tresa is not only a colleague of mine, because she also teaches at the Institute of Anthropology, especially for the licentiate, but she is much more than this, because I have this long curriculum here, sister, so help me. You are in the General Councillor and Vicar of the Congregation of Jesus, Mary, Joseph,
Yes.
right? Based
Yes.
in Rome. And what else? So where did you study? What did you study? Because I have a very long list here of very interesting things.
To make it simple, I have done my doctorate. So before that, I am basically a counselor by profession.
Okay.
I started as a teacher in the congregation. Then I studied for counseling. Then I am a professional counselor. Then I did doctorate in related to counseling psychology.
Okay.
And based on that, then I used to accompany victims of violence. And we initiated a home called Prajwala, a rehabilitation center for the women victims of violence.
Wow. So wait. So you are someone who is not only teaching safeguarding here in Rome, you have been studying all psychological topics related to safeguarding, abuse, violence, how to accompany people who have faced abuse and violence, and you actually accompany them.
Yes,
especially women. And that's why you are here with us today, especially to talk about this, what you do, and what you have learned, thanks to your experience, that you can probably share with us. But before starting, I already told you before, and our friends also know, we always have someone who accompanies us during our journey. A hero, because this is the Herocast. And today we have this, shall I say, nice guy, green guy, very popular, powerful guy. His name is Hulk. And you see, sister, each time we introduce our heroes, we discover how their incredible powers are actually the reaction to some sort of incredible suffering. Mm-hmm. And the author of this character says that he had created him because once he saw a woman lifting a car to save her child. Mm-hmm. So a sort of incredible strength that comes out of desperation somehow.
Yes.
And this is something similar to what our friend here also experienced, because he becomes a hero out of having experienced family abuse.
Okay.
The father was violent, was hitting the mother, so he was living in a very dysfunctional familiar environment. So he has suffered abuse and suffering and violence. And out of this, each time he becomes angry because of something, he becomes so green and incredibly strong, and he reacts. He does something against violence, against injustice. I don't know, do you find something that can inspire our conversation or that is linked to your own experience in working with victims in this image?
Actually, when you are speaking about Hulk.
Yes, I think.
So I felt very appreciative, and I felt like congratulating you for choosing him for today's our conversation, because what I noticed in the victims of violence, actually, of course, any violent situation, when we are not able to respond enough strongly, most of our emotions get repressed. So we either swallow them. So what happens? But they don't die. They live with us and they grow with us. And then they begin to react. You used the right word, react. They used to react. Then they react unconsciously to the living situations. But when they become aware, and when they become aware of the strength of their emotions, then they begin to respond. That becomes the power.
So not reacting, but responding.
Responding. Reacting is like impulsively. Now I feel like shouting at you, I shout at you. It may be appropriate and may not be appropriate. But responding is I am aware and I choose whether this situation demands shouting or whether this situation demands to tell something firmly and strongly, or whether this situation demands for me right now just to keep silence.
Okay.
So understand the context and I make a choice, and it comes from a lot of emotional strength.
Okay. So you have summed up in a few words a process that sounds to be quite long. And I guess you are sharing that with us not only because of what you have studied, but also because of the work you do in direct contact with the victims or survivors of any sort of violence or abuse. And we said before that you especially work with women. But you were also telling me before that you have experiencing in counseling both lay women and men and women religious.
Yes.
So you have experience in counseling them, and then you decided to work concretely with lay women in India who needed to find their own way to the right response to abuse. Can you tell us more about this, your personal journey from one activity to the other, please?
Okay. Actually, in the year 2000, I completed my 2 years of counseling course. Then from then onwards, I was into this counseling. And I was accompanying both religious women and also lay women, religious men and women. And I was also conducting training programs and giving as a resource person traveling to different parts. And in the both context, I have seen people, especially adults, living their life loaded by the heaviness of abuse and sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. So then my attention have gone much more. I developed a kind of sensitivity towards people who were sexually abused as children, because I have seen them unnecessarily, without any of their fault, living lives with guilt and bearing the burden of it into adulthood also, and making their lives, and also I have seen a lot of life potential in them, especially victims of child sexual abuse. So then I felt more curious to explore a bit more in the knowledge wise also. So that's where I went into doctoral studies. Then after that, spontaneously, then my choice, being a religious woman, always I think people with higher classes of economically higher classes, they have enough money to spend for their well-being. But the women of below poverty level, they don't have enough. For them, sustenance itself is a challenging thing. So automatically they became my choice.
So somehow, yes, this is the reason why you wanted to help where it's most needed.
Yes.
Because of a lack of resources, of economic resources to be able to afford any kind of support.
Yes.
And so your decision was, I will accompany lay women.
Lay women, and especially below poverty level.
And below lower, so lay women below poverty level in India.
Yeah.
Sounds to be a quite complex, I don't like to use this word, but let's say category or group of people. Each story, each life is different, I guess.
But before we proceed, I was also working with economically well-to-do families also.
Okay.
Mostly it is family counseling I used to do, but that is always to support me for this, to work with these people.
Okay.
So I get some money from there and then support them.
Okay. So
So,
you also needed somehow resources
yes.
for doing. This is another interesting because when we talk about resources,
Yes.
and we talk about intercultural safeguarding,
Yes.
and about context, of
Yes.
course, also having access to the proper resources
Yes.
to be able to provide support is a key.
Yes.
Because we need the money
Yeah,
to live. Yes.
And especially my goal was to make these women economically self-reliant, emotionally self-reliant, both the ways. So if I have to make them economically self-reliant, I have to teach them some skills.
Okay, so let's follow
So
step by
that's
step.
where I needed money.
Okay. Are there specific aspects, characteristics, forms they specific desperation take within this group of people? So lay women who have experienced abuse during their childhood and who possibly experience abuse also within family life as adult.
Yes.
Are there elements, because you were talking about the need to become empowered, we say, somehow be able to take their own life in their own hands, and why it's so difficult for them?
That's where the culture comes in.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, because see what happens is in India, especially South India, once the woman gets married, it's a very patriarchal society. The decisions are made by men. So even the whole notion, like from the childhood, a girl child is brought up telling that it's a kind of, it's an unconsciously picked up messages.
Okay.
Like now my whole life is in the marriage where I get married, like the where I go, and everything depends upon the decisions of that, what he likes, what he doesn't like. If he likes that, I even though I finished doctorate, and if I want to if I get married, so whether I work or I don't work depends upon his ability to respect my decisions. If he doesn't like, then I am not allowed.
Okay.
So this whole family system depends upon the decisions of men. So without our knowledge, a kind of emotional dependency grows.
Okay.
And it was for me very, very shocking to see when it comes to abuse, the tolerance of abuse in the family system. I have come across women who have done post graduation, like licentiate program here, who are working, who are earning, are submissive to abuse at home.
So despite that formally they should be independent
they,
enough,
yes,
but they still stay and keep suffering the abuse and suffering the violent system they are living in.
And that's where the cultural notions come in, because woman is supposed to protect the prestige of the family.
So this makes me think of another cultural element, the reputation of
the family,
the institution I belong to, in this case the family, gains more importance than the well-being of the people inhabiting in that system.
Especially women. It is like nowadays I see that parents are standing by girls, telling if it is too much for you, we are there for you. But 10-15 years back, that was not the thing in the society.
So you are seeing a change.
Little bit of change, and that is also in the educated families. But still, I cannot say also, it is not enough for me to say that there is a change. But there are also beginnings of things that are happening. But at the same time, woman is supposed to tolerate anything, everything at the expense of her own self to give a good image about the family, to protect the prestige of the family. And that is where, for me, the independent way of thinking of women comes.
So here, correct me if I'm wrong, I see that there is a point where the cultural elements turn into psychological ones.
Of course.
So they are embodied by the victims, and it becomes their own way of thinking, of feeling, not only
Yes.
thinking, or
Yeah,
not only
yeah.
at the rational level, but also it sounds challenging how to switch from this to a healthier way to relate to the whole issue. We were talking before about passing from reacting to properly responding. You accompany women in this journey. How, first of all, is that possible to get there? And if so, how?
Most of the time, from my experience, what I have noticed is uh, very few women feel that they are not respected and they are not valued and they are abused.
They don't recognize that.
Very few recognize
Okay.
that in the context of their own self. But most of the women who came to me asking for a help or a support to stand by themselves and to live their life is one thing which I observed in that context is many women tolerate abuse and disrespectful treatment or whatever it is when it is focused upon her own self. And many times the women tolerate it for the benefit of the children because they don't want their children to miss the affection and love of the father.
Okay.
And then they don't want their children to have a dysfunctional family, single mother family. So like that, they will tolerate. And most of them who came to me was when this tolerance of abuse by them is doing harm to the children.
Uh-huh.
So their goal of bearing with abuse is to do some good for the children, for their own children, to provide a better situations. But when they see that is not happening, then they come. They come and they tell sister, no, I don't.
So children are the main motivation at the
Most
end.
that
So
that
when they
that,
see
that
that they are suffering.
mother instinct is much more stronger than this own self oriented kind of
Okay.
this thing. That's what I have observed many times with women.
And you provide them with not only, you were telling me, not only with psychological support, counseling, but you also offer spaces for these women.
Yeah, we have a home. That's what is called as Prajwala, Celebrate Life. So there they come there, they stay with us, and their government also helps us. We can't take any woman into our quarters. So there is a child CWC is there for children, and for women also women development government agency is there.
Okay.
So through that they come to us. So then we help them. We help them. So when I was there, I used to accompany them to for emotional self-reliance, and we give them some skill training so that after go, because a lot of this dependence. And one more tricky thing I always used to surprise at the thing is like especially this below poverty level families, men and women work very menial works, but most of the time man what he earns goes for his alcohol consumption, and woman is the breadwinner also, but still she will not think of walking out because of the prestige of the family. So now here we will help them to learn something. Sometimes they come with 10th standard failed. We help them to study privately and gain degree, at least graduation. And also we teach them some skills. So that now most of the time what happens, once they walk out, families find very difficult to accept them back. And
Because they are too emancipated?
yeah, and like
They
too much
don't fit anymore in the cultural
into the cultural
categories they're
yes,
supposed
yes.
to fit in.
That's it. So then we have to help them to live life independently also, and we provide a legal if she has to legally get separated from him, and also if according to Indian law, you might have heard a lot about dowry system also. It's very
Yes.
complex. Yeah, if you touch one place it goes to everywhere.
Yeah.
So dowry during the marriage time, that women's family, they give a lot of money and gold and all that as a dowry. So according to the law, if the woman decides to come walk out of that wedlock, she is supposed to get back all that what they have given.
Didn't
So
know
we
that.
help them to fight for that.
So there are institutional basis that can support. Because one other thing I was thinking about is are two main things. First, there might be needed it might be needed to do a work also in terms of sensibilizing the context, because you can help a woman to become independent, but if an independent woman is not accepted within the society, some sort of education, sensibilization of the society is also probably needed. So educating somehow the context to be open to this freedom journey, let's say. And the other thing that perhaps might be connected to this, you said when they see that the children are suffering, they come to us. Is there any strategy in your experience or opinion that can help women to come to you before something bad happen, even to the children, that can make them think, I'm also worth, I also have a value, so even just for me it would be good to go and ask for help.
That's what for me it was like not only taking care of the victims, taking care of the issue not to happen. Prevention also was one of the focus of my focus during that time when I was working. So what we used to do is, I used to gather women groups we used to have, and there we conscientize them and teach them what it means to be self-respect. So that how abuse, all these things, we conscientize them. So most of the time it is these women who go and talk to those women who are getting abused. You should not bear this. Go to sister, she will help you. So they are like
so
our
it
links.
A virtuous circle somehow, and then a domino effect.
Naturally, when they're in our groups, these women are part of our group, women's groups. They share with us. And we stand by them. So with this experience, they go and share with others in the community also. So like that word spreads and people come.
Now, going back to culture, you are doing this great job at different levels, I see, not only in personal accompaniment and counseling, with a specific focus on India and Indian culture. But you are also South Indian, so even more specific. Yeah, India is a continent, in fact. And, sometimes when we from the Western world touch these issues, we have a sort of colonialistic complex. So we, at least myself, I'm always afraid to have a too colonialistic approach when teaching people from other cultures about safeguarding. Now you are also teaching here in Rome. So you have your experience in India, you are meeting people from different cultures in a Western Italian city. Have you experienced some main differences in the way safeguarding and the fight against abuse should be dealt with in these two different worlds or in different cultural contexts? Or are there specific strategies or main differences you have found in your experience?
Okay. See, for me, I am only second year in Rome.
Okay.
And my main understanding of the culture comes from my classroom, where I interact with my students. So what I noticed is like, and even otherwise also, in the psychology, when we do psychology, most of the psychological books are from the West. And because a lot of exploration is being done here. So my opinion was, when I was reading was like, women in the West are very liberated, very free.
Are they?
So like that we used to think. That's what we used to think, like, no, but because see, gender is constructed by the culture. As a woman, how I am supposed to be, my culture teaches me, and your culture teaches you. So that way, then, because we used to feel that this culture is more liberal and more literate and more respects the dignity and self-respect of other beings. So that's where then I used to think that the things are more at a different level in the West. But while studying, because when the cross cultural longitudinal studies, because I was sharing with you, I have done my studies in how group process influences the emotional intelligence of survivors of child sexual abuse. So there, most of the literature I got from the West only, American. So there I could see that years back there was a lot of violence against women, and then this feminism has helped them to stand by themselves to some extent. So like that was my idea from reading.
And
Then when I came here, when in the classroom, when I talk about the psyche of women, like gender roles, how a woman feels in the family towards and all that. So when I was giving the examples, when I see the responses of my students from the West, so I understood basically the psyche is same.
you see, so we are closer than we
Yeah,
think.
yeah, closer than we think. Maybe that confidence and knowledge and ability to communicate, there may be differences, but at the psyche level,
Yeah.
I feel a lot of similarities.
Yes. Perhaps another difference that we can mention, or that I think we can mention, is the role that spirituality plays in the process. What I mean, you were mentioning about the space you provide to women. We also have something similar here in Italy, but they are mostly run by state or lay organizations. Not
Okay.
there are of course organizations, church organizations that also do this work. But from what you said, I have the impression that in India is mainly religion somehow, the institutionalized religion that provides this kind of help. Or
Yeah,
did I understand
both
wrong?
are there.
Okay.
Religious men and women also take care of these vulnerable groups, and there are also NGOs.
Okay.
NGOs also are there. Now government also is growing in sensitivity towards these things, and they are also helping us to through funding some projects.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like that now, on the whole, the people are becoming more aware, but
Okay.
still a lot to do.
And another question that came to my mind, because there was much reference to marriage, the
Yes.
importance of being the wife within a marriage.
Yes.
It was like this not many years back also. In Italy, it's much less now here. So I was thinking, I imagine that some of these women, after having done their counseling, do not go back to their husband.
Yes.
How is that perceived in the Indian society?
They take divorce. Legally, they get separated.
So legally it's possible, it's
Legally,
okay.
they get divorced. But in the society, acceptance of this reality is a little less only. When I was working with these women, that time then we don't have a vehicle, so I used to use public transport only. So when I travel by autos and all, I tell the address, no, so and so place I have to go. So when I get the sometimes then I pick up some conversation with the drivers, like no, how,
Okay.
then the drivers they'll ask, sister, are you? Do you know that there is some group, one sister started some institute? It seems there, who is. Turning them against their husbands, turning the
Turning them
women
against their
against their
husband.
husbands. Are you aware of them? Then I smile within myself. then
Yes,
I don't.
I'm the one.
Most of the time I don't tell that. But then I get into like, are you upset with that? I want to get into the conversation to get their opinion about that and to educate them, like, so that's something. And sometimes husbands used to come and tell me, sister, after she began to come to you, she became too bold and she is not like before. So sometimes there is some anger also used to turn towards me, anger of the families and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am not dependent on them, and so
Of course.
it
But
doesn't matter much. But I need to be sensitive to these things. Yeah, so like
But
that.
I guess also you're a sister, so you are probably perceived as someone who will be defending the marriage,
Yeah.
whatever it happens.
Yes, yes.
But
There also.
so I understand that no, they
It's a
don't
shock,
expect you
cultural.
to. But anyway, there was another point I would like to touch before we conclude our conversation, because we were talking about switching from reaction to respond, switching from anger out of desperation to channelizing. Is this something that also you yourself needed to do?
Of course.
Because I guess I can imagine the big anger in having to deal with all these terrible stories and experiences. So how did you manage, if you managed, to
Yes.
to not to become green, so to say?
Yeah. See, basically, my principle, maybe it comes from the spirituality also. Like, we need to always in our culture, reactions are taken negatively only, like impulsivity and reactions. Then we should, maybe because my background is I'm coming from psychology background. So when you study about mature behaviors and all that, so responding is considered as a mature behavior, reactions are considered as immature behavior. So it is a kind of, I have a spontaneous inclination towards that, learning to respond. And it is a lifelong struggle. Huh? It's
Yeah, of course.
because we are like immediately something comes and we
this
want to push.
emotional intelligence is something that
yeah.
we all need to
Yeah.
acquire, of course.
So that way, it is one of the things which I take upon for myself to train me, respond to the situations without reacting. So then that's what then I always have seen how women are making situations worse for themselves with reactions, and expressing themselves in an inappropriate way, in a wrong context, and making things worse. So then I thought, for me, one of my personal goal for them, when I aim at making them emotionally self-reliant, is teaching them to respond to situations than reacting. And especially as the abuse the victims, there is a lot of tendency to react.
Yeah, of course.
And then they make things worse for them again.
Yeah.
So
Becomes
that is
a loop, a dangerous loop.
Yes. Though they are doing something good, they will be branded negatively and roofed. So that's where it is. For me, it is a life goal for myself to train myself as a woman who responds than reacts to the situations. And I saw it helping in my own life, living my life. Then I thought the same thing for them. I have seen them.
Okay. Before we conclude, is there any suggestion you would like to share for women, despite the cultures they belong to? Because we see that there are similar challenges, right? So is there any a simple tip, a suggestion for women in general to get back to their own emotional intelligence?
More than women in general, I like to get back to India again.
Yeah.
So what I see is, like, we know that revolutions happened in the history of the humankind. So then when in these histories, always at one point of time, those repressed groups will burst out, and that becomes a revolution. Like labor revolution, so different things.
Different kind.
In India, I see that is happening now. Now women are becoming like more aggressive and coming forward.
More assertive, perhaps.
Instead of in the psychology also, when we learn, we say that always we move from submissive to aggressive.
Okay.
From one extreme to other extreme, and then with awareness we bring ourselves to assertive.
Okay, I've learned something new.
Yeah, that's actually line of growth in psychology when we talk about. So from submissive we move to aggressive, then from there we teach ourselves to be assertive. So now that's what I want to tell the women. We don't have to be aggressive for anything. We because when we are aggressive, we are harming ourselves also.
Yes.
So
And we reiterate a paradigm
yeah,
we want to overcome.
yes. Because at the end of the day, aggression is not. It depends on the context. Again, we can. There is no in human life. There is no like in every context. This is the principle which works for me at least. So it's the context that helps us to understand whether some behavior is okay or not okay. So that's what my advice is. Let us become assertive women and contributing to and I believe nature has blessed us with lots and lots of natural potentials towards contributing to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we become a women, assertive women, we can with the strength we can contribute.
Yes. Yes.
So this is what my vision for every woman in the world. So all of us grow towards becoming an assertive woman, contributing to life. Because without women, without our contribution,
as
it will
Italian
not.
woman, I would welcome your suggestion also for me, for myself, because I think it's very structured. So, first of all, to find signs of hope in this revolution that is taking place, recognizing it, recognizing the risks, and becoming protagonist of this journey by going back from aggression to assertivity. So, did you listen, guy? So no aggressivity anymore, only being assertive, but sometimes we are angry, yeah,
Yes,
because bad things happen, and we need also to have the courage to keep being angry for things that we don't want to happen anymore.
And be gentle with ourselves also.
And be gentle. This is not a suggestion I very much appreciate. I will take for me as well. Okay. Thank you very much, sister. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your work, for your sensitivity, and for what we have shared and learned today. And now, before greeting you, I remind our viewers that we are always there on our YouTube channel IADC PUG, where you can find this episode and of course the previous ones and more to follow that will come. So sister, we are not drinking alcohol. Today is not alcohol, friends. I'm sorry, because I normally drink wine, but we can still do our cheers to greet you and thank you for being with us today. Cheers. Cheers.